My name is Gearoid Maher. Welcome to Killuragh, County Limerick. I'm a dairy farmer here. I'm a farmer in partnership with my wife Sarah. I'm a fourth generation farmer. I took over the farm in 2011. I started the farm at the time was leased out. We always milked cows here up to the mid-90s. And from there I decided to get back into cows, so we started supplying milk here in 2013. I had a business plan done in college for starting up in dairying, and I decided to approach the banks with my business plan. So at the time I had a student bank account. I had only €200 in my bank account, and there was virtually nothing here on the farm. I hadn't a shovel or a fork. The sheds were falling down, and I was still ambitious to get going. And so I approached the three main banks in the country, and after the three banks looking at my business plan, the three of them offered me the money to start. I started with 40 cows, say between heifers and cows, and we've grown since 2013 to 80 cows. The farm mainly is heavy ground. Our grazing season here is about 240 to 250 days. So on the basis of the land being the limit here for the cow numbers, I felt that the cow type was going to be had to be the main driver for the farm. So the farm itself is a long, narrow farm. It's to the furthest in paddock. It's 1.4 kilometres. So I knew I needed a cow that could walk that distance twice a day at 240 days a year. So I needed a cow because the land was heavy. My stocking rate was always going to be limited, so I needed a cow that had a cull cow value and a calf value, and that was the basis why I chose Pure Friesian. I felt that Friesian was the better breed, the breed to suit me here, because of that I could only ever milk a certain number of cows here, and I felt that my cull cow had a value to me. My calves had a value. I think one of the main reasons too was the fertility. It's naturally in the herd. It's naturally in the breed, say, and that I was always concerned that if we got a long spring, that if I couldn't get cows out, that fertility could have been an issue with another breed. And I felt that if it's naturally in the breed, you don't have to select for it when you're selecting bulls. So when I select bulls, I generally stay Friesian, but I focus on milk and protein, because every other trait is a given with the breed. We'd have a very small empty rate. I'd always be under 10. Some years it could be 3 and 4%. But in my third year of farming here, we had a 0% empty rate. Every cow in the herd was a calf. And we'd normally, we'd only have maybe 2 or 3% of the herd calving in April. But my first conception rate would be in around 60-70% on a normal year, with very little intervention from myself. So they're low maintenance breed. They takes very little to get the cows and calves. On the basis of doing my own AI, I have the options of using any bull of any breed, of anywhere in the world. This year the cows produced just around 500 kilos of milk solids. With the spring being so bad, I reckon we only did about 220 days of grass, and the cows produced 360 protein and 422 fat. My cell count for the year was about 80 or 90,000. Generally, the herd is I'm always under 100. So the last 4 years now, I've been doing selective dry cow on the basis that I just kind of want to move away from antibiotics and antibiotic resistance. Out of 80 cows, there's only been 16 cows that got antibiotic. The rest of them got zero. After calving this year, my cell count actually went to 40,000, and it was the first spring in a long time now with no antibiotic, with no cases of mastitis, so there was no antibiotic tubes used during the spring. So just before calving in, the cows will get oats. I've no diet feeder here, and the reason was that I always felt that if I had enough headspace I wouldn't have the need for a dive feeder. So we only have one tractor for the farm, so that does all the feeding, and so basically the cows, we get oats before calving, and as soon as they calve down then they're introduced to ration in the parlour. What I find about the beet, it's a high energy feed and it's cheap. It's pure sugar, so the cows don't have to convert the sugar, so it's straight absorbed energy, and it's easy fed. And what I love about it there after calving, you can drive down along your barrier feeding your silage, and you might have 4 or 5 cows still sitting. But when you start turning on the beet out of the chopper, there won't be any cows sitting. So you'll always spot a cow that's sick, or if she's not eating the beet, there's something wrong with her. Just on this winter alone, we installed a Lily robotic scraper. So previously to that, I would have been scraping the passageways with a tractor and scraper, which would take me about an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. So just here as we speak, while the cows are dry, I reckon I have only 2 hours work a day just feeding the cows, and that's it. When I started first, there was only 40 cubicles on the farm, and there was a 5-unit milking parlour here. So basically when I bought the cows, I converted the milking parlour to a 10-unit. My ethos all along was to make the best of what I had. In 2016 I built this shed, and I used my full allocation for 10 grand, and we built this shed. So currently on the farm there's 120 cubicles. The cows have access to 100, and the heifers have access to 20. So, and I think that's mainly the main driver to the cell count, and the cows themselves, that they're not overstocked inside the shed. So this I suppose the dry period is the time where you get to take a break from the whole lot and recharge the batteries and have a look to see what can be done better for next year. And I suppose with this year, with the year that was in it with the COVID, it's been a long year, and I was looking forward to drying off. Normally you'd be happy enough to winter away, but this year, look, the herd performed well and with very little issues. Yeah, so overall I'm extremely happy with the breed, for the simple reason that they're a low maintenance cow, and my health costs here basically are only vaccines and whatever I buy at the vets. I generally might have the vet out 2 or 3 times in the year, but after calving I get very little ailments. I touch wood, I never had a displaced mason or bad feet, or you might get one cow holding a clear, but generally after calving I get very little trouble. Back when I started with the original cows, I'd still have maybe 20% of the herd is still the original cows, and I'd say maybe a third, 3/4 or a third of the herd is first and second calvers. So like for Friesians in general, with heifers not yielding as much as their counterparts, it's still producing, the herd average is still 500 kilos. That's exceptional from a cow that isn't supposed to produce a lot of milk. I sell the cull cows in, I sell the cull cows straight out of the parlour. They just go straight to the mart, and they generally average, I've always got over €600. Even when, say, last year in particular, when cull cows were only averaging €300, I still got, I think the average is $650 that year. So the calf side of things in, I keep all the calves here. They're reared here on this farm till they're weaned. So they're all fed on milk powder, and when they're weaned in, they go to the outside farm. The calves in are sold at a year old, and they'd average about from 350 to 300 kilos. And a few years now, some of the Friesian bullocks have made €600, and all my whiteheads will always make in around 700, 750. And 1 or 2 years now, they've come into 800. So, which is exceptional money for dairy bred stock. Here on the farm, 20 acres of the home farm here is under forestry, and it was planted for the purpose of commercial forestry. So, but my view of going forward with it is to that when the spruce or the softwoods are clear felled and the hardwoods are tinned, that my plan is to leave the hardwoods and to make kind of a habitat. I'm planting along my paddocks. I'm planting tree lines for the simple reason for shelter and from a biodiversity point of view. In terms then of hedgerow management then, I tend to do as little as possible with them. The only kind of maintenance work is we trim behind the wire, so that leaves plenty of winter feeding for birds, and it also in the springtime, from the whitethorn you have a lot of pollen for the bees. In terms of my nutrients on farm, all the slurry here is spread by low emission slurry system. So I changed the fertilizer spreader this year, and we've got a GPS system, so I'm able to accurately spread the fertilizer. We use protected urea, and this year in particular I reckon we reduced the nitrogen usage by a quarter, just by having the right equipment for the job. Since the forestry has been planted, I've noticed a huge increase in wildlife. As a dairy farmer, we're farming the environment, so it's our job to protect the environment.